Feel like we were just here like 2 days ago.
I think it's because maybe we were.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, we're gearing up for a Thursday night football short week for the or for the Kansas City Chiefs, and a short week for us too. Taking on the Denver Broncos Thursday night football. Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit get another barn burner to call. I feel like they just get the worst draw in the NFL. It's either going to be two bottom feeders or just blowout city.
Yeah, nice to have Kirk Herbstreit though, man. Like Stroud and I were just talking about this during the game last weekend, how we grew up on Saturday mornings with Kirk Herbstreit calling all the
Oh yeah,
games, and then
college game day,
NCAA
baby.
the game, PlayStation, and playing, and Kirk Herbstreit's calling all those games and inside
Oh yeah.
NCAA. So yeah, I mean it's fun to have him in the NFL now, that's for sure.
Yep. I when they paired him with Al Michaels initially last year, I was like, really? Kirk coming up to the pro levels. Look at him go.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
he's always been great. He's always been very insightful, and I've liked him so far on the broadcast. Al Michaels is just hilarious to me now. Like you can just tell he doesn't give a damn
Yeah.
about anything.
Yeah, I've always liked Al as well.
Yeah, he's great. All-time legend in the broadcast booth. Definitely been a staple for us growing up with him too, right? But today we'll
Yeah.
get up into Chiefs news, talk about some things that are going on, some trade rumors that are rumbling, get into the AFC matchups for Week 6 to watch out for. Obviously, after the Chiefs play on Thursday Night Football, you'll get a chance to catch up on everything else NFL. Not a ton there, but we'll touch on it briefly, and then we'll get into Thursday night, prepping you everybody up that's listening for the game, and sort of talking about injury reports. Obviously, there's some concerns around a certain superstar tight end. So we'll get everything out there for you all tonight. But let's start off with some Chiefs news brought to you by Better Homes and, of course, our own Katie Lawrence.
Yeah, absolutely. So Better Homes and Gardens, specifically Katie Lawrence, my wife, she's a premier real estate agent for the Kansas City area. If you are looking to buy, looking to sell, looking to build, whatever your dreams are to start a home or to sell your home, Katie's going to take care of you in the Kansas City area. So she handles a wide area. Don't feel afraid to call her if you're in Blue Springs or Independence or North Kansas City, wherever it may be. She's going to take care of you. Be sure you get giving Katie Lawrence a call for your home needs. Dan, kick us off.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So Aaron Rodgers on Pat McAfee. It's a weekly thing. We know he's rehabbing. He's got nothing going on. Real bored, apparently. He fired back at Travis Kelce about the vax debate comments that he said. Travis Kelce came out and said, I never thought I'd be in a vax war with Aaron Rodgers. And of course, Aaron Rodgers tries to be the smartest guy in the room, any opportunity that he can get, and wants to have a great debate on the New Heights podcast or on the Pat McAfee show about vaccines. And honestly, like Aaron Rodgers is just clamoring for some clicks right now. It feels like to me.
He's leading a movement, brother. He's leading the movement.
Oh
He's
God,
he's got the Joe he's got the Joe Rogan blood flowing through
he definitely is cut from the same cloth.
him. Yeah, we'll
That's for
never see
sure.
that. That's definitely not Travis Kelsey's kind of avenue he would go down and doing a debate. I could see him sitting around chopping the shit, but no
Well,
debate's gonna happen between Travis and Aaron Rodgers.
Rodgers has a lot of free time right now, but Kelsey's playing in an NFL season. So it's just not going to happen
Yes.
anytime soon if it were even to come close to happening. But I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
There's no chance in hell that there would be a debate going on with Kelsey and Aaron
No.
Rodgers and RFK and Fauci. It's just not going to play out that way.
Yeah. 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 That'd be one for the ages. Joe Rogan can mediate that one. But
Good
Dan,
Lord.
there's some talk floating around right now, right? With rumors of trades. What are those rumors kind of floating around right now?
They're flowing like an ice cold beer from the Atlas Saloon for sure. We're heading into week 8 where that deadline comes up, right? Where you're going to
Yep.
see a lot of those trade moves, where you're going to see those players that may be entering contract years move to contenders. And then after that, it's a situation where players are getting cut or released so they can be claimed by those contenders on the waiver wire. So there's all those different pieces that we're going to see. The rumor mill's firing up. Frank Clark not going to play. We'll get into injuries a little bit, but a lot of times when players are inactive or whatever the situation might be, that's when those trade rumors flare up, especially if they haven't really been making an impact on the team. So Frank Clark, Chris Jones is a big proponent of us going out and getting him and bringing him back. He was putting it out there in the airwaves in the offseason for the Chiefs to re-sign him or restructure him in a way to bring him back to the team, and didn't end up playing out that way. Obviously, he signs with the Denver Broncos, but how would you feel about getting Frank Clark back?
I think with the place that our defense is in now, specifically, obviously the front four, I'm good on Frank Clark, man. If you sign him, or I don't want to trade him. Let's say that I don't want to trade for him.
Yeah, exactly.
If you sign him, it's more of a Broncos released him. Look, it's December. Maybe the Chiefs have chalked up a couple of injuries on the front defensive line, and we know Frank Clark has played well for us historically in January. So why would we not take a shot on that? Who's familiar, a guy who's familiar with defense? He's played well for us in January. That's kind of how I see that situation playing out. But we don't need him right now, so I don't think there's a push for Frank Clark for me.
No, I'm with you there. I would be definitely a little perplexed if we gave up assets for him, trade draft capital. But with the potential for him getting released and us signing Frank Clark for a stretch run in the playoffs, especially if we have an injury come up on that defensive line, that's definitely where I'd be. So I'm 100% with you there. How about McCole Hardman? He was a healthy scratch last week. Really haven't seen him do much with the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers going down definitely impacts his ability to impact that offense because they're going
Yep.
to lean more into the running backs there with Brees Hall and not relying so much on Zach Wilson's arm, but more number 20's legs. What would you think about bringing McCole Hardman back in a trade scenario? We just saw Claypool get traded. We just saw Van Jefferson get traded. It was a late round pick swap to get that done, a 6th for a 7th in both of those scenarios. How would you feel if the Chiefs pulled off a move like that?
I think I'm good on McCole Hardman as well. We don't need another guy to come in. At like the conversation you and I had today with Luke and Strato in that text. How many wide receiver threes do we need on the Chiefs team? You know what I mean? Like what value is bringing McCole in just to be a fresh set of legs in the receiver core? Like I want guys that are going to be more consistent. I need guys that are going to be 70 yards a game, a touchdown every other game. That's the receiver I need. I don't need a guy that is taking more jet sweeps. We don't need that. We need guys that are getting the ball down. I'm good on McCole as well. And again, if he pops up in November, December, yeah, maybe we scoop him up. Maybe the Jets move on from him, whatever the situation may be. But he left in a weird way as well. He didn't leave. Everybody wasn't like, damn, McCole, sorry to see you, man. Like as a team, not fan wise, as a team. And so I'm not sure if he like gels back into the Chiefs that well, kind of like Frank Clark would.
Yeah, Frank Clark definitely had a bigger, footprint in that locker room than McCole. There's no debating that. I wouldn't want to trade for him either, to tell you the truth. It's just feel like we have so many other receivers that carry his same skill set. Not even that,
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from with the multiple wide receiver threes, which we were talking about earlier, right? Um, Guys that we don't think are going to be that week in, week out superstar, but maybe they flash here and there when they get the hot hand. But I think the skill set in general, the small, shifty wide receiver kind of mold, we kind of already have that with at least 3 guys on our offense. So there's definitely not room on the roster, barring some sort of an injury, which one of those guys that we have that fits that mold, Kadarius Toney, I mean, that tends to happen. So we'll see how
Yep.
that plays out. And then two players here that have been getting tossed around on the rumor mill, Marquise Brown and Kyle Pitts. Marquise Brown, obviously, with the Arizona Cardinals. He is on a team that's floundering. We don't know when Kyler Murray's going to come back. They've actually been playing decently well without him. The defense, I think, has surprised some people with what they've been able to do. But Marquise Hollywood Brown getting rumored to be shipped around. And then, of course, Kyle Pitts is on the other end of the spectrum. While Marquise Brown is actually performing, Kyle Pitts is like getting no love at all out there in
Yep.
Atlanta. Jonnu Smith
Yep.
has surpassed him as the primary tight end target there. And we talked about this on ADP, where Kyle Pitts is more of a stretch the field, vertical type of tight end where he can take the top off the defense with his speed from that position. Not really that primary blocker kind of guy, more of a traditional receiver skill set when it comes to tight ends. And Desmond Ridder really doesn't chuck the ball down the field in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So there's really just
Yep.
not a fit there, especially because they're relying on the running game. It seems like Kyle Pitts is just a true black sheep in that offense where his skill set just isn't going to be utilized the way that it should be. If we're talking about, there's no world that I would see us acquiring both of these players, but you never know what's going to happen for us to acquire one or the other at the deadline. If I'm choosing between these two, I would honestly go the route of Kyle Pitts with
Yep.
Travis Kelce getting older, with the dynamic ability of Kyle Pitts to run a multiple tight end set or a multiple receiver set. Put Kyle Pitts in on the outside. Like you could put him on the outside as a wide receiver and he would be able to carve up some defenses. So
Yeah.
if I'm looking at it, I could see a trade where we give up a third round pick. Anything more than that, I'd be upset. But if we traded a third, it would make sense. And that's really what we did for Kadarius Toney last year, too.
Sure. Yeah. I think if I had to pick two guys, I'm picking Kyle Pitts as well. And just to your point, you line that guy up outside, you see a lot of three tight end sets with the Chiefs at that point if Kyle Pitts is on the football team. And because I don't think you bring Kyle Pitts in, I don't think Noah Gray just dissolves out of our offense. I think he's still a healthy chunk
Yeah.
or a healthy part of what that offense does. And I think Andy Reid just finds a way, find a way to integrate Kyle Pitts into the current scheme and bring his skill set in, to kind of mirror or do the opposite job of what Kadarius Toney's going to do or what Sky Moore is going to do. And honestly, having a big body like that with the speed at the top really could open things up for the Chiefs offense when it comes to the slot receivers.
No, I totally agree. The best part about that is when we're able to hit those different zones on the field and the defenses start to key on that, that's what's really going to create more of those opportunities for our guys underneath, for guys in other quadrants of the field that are running their routes. And just the fact that the defense would have to respect that is certainly going to open things up for sure. Now, moving on from the trade rumors, our wide receivers are a big concern to a lot of people. And Andy Reid, he's come out and said that he's happy with the progress of those wide receivers. But, really everyone's very young on that roster when it comes to that wide receiver room. And, that's just something that we're going to see some speed bumps as we move through.
Yeah, I know. I agree. And there's I believe we should be seeing more out of being Sky Moore, MBS. Those guys that should be producing more, should be separating themselves a little bit more than what we're seeing. And when it comes to Andy Reid and how he talks about his team, obviously if there's a defect that we need to improve on after a game, he's going to address that. But overall, Andy Reid's going to speak well about his team and talk good about the young guys, and they're progressing. Yeah, they may have made some mistakes, and but here's what they're doing well. Blah 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 blah. Right. So I fully expect that out of him to be a leader for the team, and so that's the tough part about the trade deadline is, and the Chiefs historically don't like to address things like this at the trade deadline. They try to just, kick the can to the off season. This is the team. This is what we're going to try to make do with, and let's roll with it. And it's been successful the last 5 years, and so yeah, at this point, I'm kind of like, let's just roll with it and develop who we have, and take advantage of the rookie contracts that we're on, and try to make the best of it, and utilize the coaching staff we have, utilize Pat Mahomes, utilize Travis Kelce, and those guys, and make another run. So, we could spend 2 whole shows on the wide receiver core, but at the end of the day, it's just 10% of the team, right? Like they just have a small little sliver that they got to take care of. Everybody else got to do their job too. So that's my
Yeah.
opinion on that. That's kind of how I view that.
I want to see this thing through with our wide receivers. So I'm not in the camp of go trade. It's a desperation kind of thing. I mean, we're 4-1. We're the number 1 team in the AFC, and we just are coming off of a Super Bowl win with essentially the same exact group that we're fielding today. Let's get Rashee Rice in there. Let's get Justin Ross in there, develop them a little more, and see what we truly have before we decide to cut our losses and chase down some receiver to pay an exorbitant amount of money. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm totally with you. I'm with Andy Reid. Dude's a master genius when it comes to the offense.
Sure
so I'm
is.
sure he's got something figured out there. Let's move it in the AFC landscape. So this is going to be brought to you by eCoffee, www.eeroastscoffee.com. They are Casey local. So if you're looking for something to drink, get you ready for Thursday night football, get your day started off on the right foot, then they're going to be the ones to take care of you. Check out all their coffee that's coming from all over the world. They're roasting the beans right here in Kansas City and sending them wherever you're at. So again, that's www.eeroastscoffee.com. Don't forget to check out the espresso there as well. Week 6, not a ton of marquee AFC matchups here. Baltimore is facing Tennessee. I think that's going to turn into a similar situation with what we saw with the Pittsburgh and Baltimore game. Low scoring, gritty, hard-nosed football.
Yeah.
We see that from the Tennessee Titans. Like, they basically are like grandfathered into the AFC North, in my opinion, with their style of play. So with that, I mean, you've got a 3-2 Baltimore team that looked really hot early on, facing a 2-3 Titans team that needs to figure something out if they're going to take the AFC South. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I agree with Tennessee. Baltimore definitely has to figure out what kind of team they're going to be. I feel like this is like
Right.
Baltimore has no idea what kind of football they're going to play week in and week out. Like I'm not sure what practices look like for Baltimore. They looked like an extremely confused football team, which is odd. Harbaugh's a hell of a coach to have a team confused like that. And Lamar is a leader at this point. He's not a young guy. Dude just got paid as a veteran quarterback. So, you kind of expect a little bit more out of him. But, looking into the Indianapolis-Jacksonville game, this one is in Jacksonville. This is going to be a good game, kind of barring who's playing quarterback for Indianapolis. But
that's going to be Gardner Minshew.
At the end of the day, I think it's still going to be a good game. Jacksonville just came off a dub across the pond, and against a very good Buffalo team. And Indianapolis just kind of plays the long ball. They play until the last whistle in the fourth quarter, and if they're up, they're up, and if they're down, they're only down a little bit. That would be a pretty solid football game. And then the Chargers have a tough one this week with Dallas, who's trying to figure out, who's had a pretty tough run as far as schedule goes. That's a good football team in Dallas, good defense, solid defense. But they're going to have another test this week with Herbert throwing the rock around, and the Chargers coming off a bye week will be tough for them.
That Dallas D failed the test of the San Francisco 49ers, allowing 42 points. And
True.
The Chargers have the opportunity to put up points in bunches as well, especially with Austin Eckler coming back. So it's on Kansas City to keep the momentum going for the lead in the AFC West. I think we have a really good shot at it. Obviously, we'll talk about it more here in a second. But then going back to that Indy and Jacksonville game, Anthony Richardson likely going to be on IR for an extended period of time. But Gardner Minshew is no slouch. He knows Jacksonville well. So I can see that playing out the way that you were saying. Pretty good game there. Let's get into the
Yep.
moment everybody's been waiting for, right? This is Thursday night football, Broncos, Chiefs. We're going to talk about it, but quick shout out to the Atlas Saloon.
Yeah, so the Atlas Saloon. So we've talked about them a couple of times, man, and I'm definitely planning on making a trip down there this week. Dan, matter of fact, we should link up this weekend, grab a beer down there. Where are the hats? You know what I mean? Grab ourselves a free beer. But let's build this bar in 1894. A lot of history down at the Atlas. It's downtown Excelsior Springs. It's got that kind of old school saloon vibe. They started brewing beer down there in 2018, and as of right now, they have 10 beers on tap. So quite a few craft beers, really, for a small town like Excelsior Springs, which is awesome to see. But events they got going on: Tuesday, free pool; Wednesday, open mic night; Thursday, if you wear your Atlas shirt, you get a free beer, and they have live music on Thursdays. So a big event tomorrow. Obviously, the Chiefs are playing tomorrow, or as you guys are listening tonight. And so they have a party every time the Chiefs play, huge party. They got a bunch of people down there, all kinds of beer, all kinds of food. I mean, they do it the right way down there at the Atlas. It's a fun environment. Keith and Jimmy are great guys to be around, so make sure you go down to the Atlas. And when you talk to Keith and Jimmy, be sure you bring up the fastest 40 and let them know that we sent them your way. Dan,
yes, sir.
Take us in, brother.
Injury report, man. Nick Bolton gonna play. No worries there, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to get number 32 back on the defensive side of the ball. George Karlaftis is a concern with the hamstring. That's something to monitor. He's been pretty limited this week with the hammy. I feel like it's always better to play it safe, especially since we're going to need George for the stretch run. He's been relentless out there in the trenches for us this year. So that's one. If he ends up sitting on the bench for the game, I would not be upset about that. Tommy Townsend also questionable. This one was surprising to me. I feel like he's likely going to end up playing the game, but one to watch out for if we end up elevating a punter or signing somebody for that game, or if Justin Reed decides he wants to start punting, then I'm sure we'll see number 20 back there. And then
I was about to say
that. And then Travis Kelce with that ankle. We all saw what went down in that Minnesota game with his low ankle sprain. He has been practicing in a limited capacity over the last since we last recorded the show. He's recorded 2 limited practices, Wednesday and Tuesday. So odds are he's going to end up going out there and playing, and going to be taped up, probably going to get some cortisone shots in there, numb him up a little bit so that he doesn't have to feel too much of that pain, doesn't get too much of that swelling. But I would be very, very surprised not to see number 87 lining up on Thursday night.
Yeah, just to tap into this right before you jump into the Broncos injuries, hopefully we start the second half at like 24-3, 28-3, 28-7, and we can kind of say, hey, 87, go ahead and take the pads off, hang it up for the game. We don't need you, go up top with old T Swift, bro. We don't need you down here on the field, man. Go start slinging beers up there.
Go check the game out with your girl in the suite.
Yeah. Don't get comfortable though.
You know how we like to do it. Let them come back in the third and then close it out in the fourth.
Yeah,
Broncos injuries. Greg Dulcich, tight end, coming off IR, questionable to play tomorrow night. I would honestly be surprised to see him out there. I could see them playing it safe with him. Javonte Williams, 100% healthy, going to be returning this week against Kansas City. So their star running back coming back. 2 key inactives here: DJ Jones, defensive lineman, and Frank Clark, another defensive end for them. Both are confirmed to be out for that game. So a little less pressure. They did just release, or I guess they ended up trading Randy Gregory as well. So, I mean, that really just leaves Nick Bonito as the primary defensive lineman / edge rusher for us to worry about there with the Broncos defense. The Broncos defense has been really bad this year. something that
Nuh-uh.
they're not really accustomed to being. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But those are going to be some key injuries for that team.
Absolutely, yeah, and you know, it's tough being a bad team, but when you're bad and you got a bunch of injuries, it just those pile up, man. Just pile up on you.
Absolutely. That's never what you want to see. But we'll get to some
Yep.
more of the keys to the victory and kind of Broncos defense. But quick, let's touch on some of those best bets for the game.
So best bets. I want to touch on something here real quick, Dan. I was talking to my buddy Brandon Laredo last week. So my man just got married a couple of weeks ago. So Brandon, congratulations from Dan and I here at the
Congrats.
TF40. But him and I were talking about a little football on Friday last week, and they were talking, back and forth against. He's a Texas fan. I'm kind of OU guy. Grew up OU fan, but great game by the way on Saturday. But he was telling me about how he has been hedging some of his bets in the NFL. And hear me out, man. I've never heard this before. He cracked the code. Once people hear this, Vegas is going to shit their pants because they're about to lose a whole bag of cash. So Laredo's only taking field goals. Only taking field goals. He takes a field goal in each noon game, a field goal in each afternoon game, and then each half of the Sunday night game. And I think the words he said were he's usually a winner every week. So let's just go out 80%, week over week. I mean, he's cracked the code, man. How many field goals are there? I mean, there are a lot of field goals. And this man's just throwing cash on field goals. I mean, the most boring bet you can make, but this man's pockets are getting full.
He wants nothing but bend don't break defenses. Like
Yes.
if that was the entire NFL, he would be a very wealthy person. What does he bet? Just like that
So
a
I
field
want.
goal will occur, the over under on field goals. Like what does that look like?
I think it's. I probably need to clarify this, but I think it's just that a field goal will happen. There will be a field goal
Oh,
kicked and made. I mean, how crazy?
I mean, what are we talking about here? That's like the odds can't be that great on it, but I mean, if you're just like, it's such a sure bet. Like, how would you not
Right.
take that? I guess
Right. 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 Even if it's $10 on each one, I mean, you have to come out.
you putting that on on this Thursday night game with the Chiefs and Broncos.
That there's at least one field goal.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll play it now. How do I not? I just had a
play
man tell me the secrets. This man just gave me the new codes to Vegas.
it.
How do I not hit the button?
You got to hit the button.
Yeah. So all right, Dan, run us into some
I love
spreads
that.
for the game Thursday night.
Yeah, Chiefs are obviously heavy favored here on the money line, -599, -600 in some books for that. Denver +440 to win. I mean, you're throwing money away there. Kansas City favored 10.5 points at the moment. Now that is pretty steep. They're saying if this is a neutral game, then we're 7.5 point favorites. So a little bit more than a touchdown is what they're expecting. The half point kicker is always the thing that gets me because I could absolutely see us winning this
Yes.
game 31-21. Maybe they get a late minute touchdown and cover that thing. So,
Yeah.
you know how I do it. I never touch Kansas City when it comes to betting. But if I'm taking this, I might pepper a little bit on the Broncos at +10.5. But I could absolutely see this going the other way and just turn it into a
Yeah.
blowout as well. Um, so this is just one of those ones I'm not going to touch. We're just so notorious for not covering.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. That's a good point. And it's a division game, man.
Yep. There's always that factor as well. The over under on the point total set at 47.5 points. I like the over there. I think there's a lot of potential for the Chiefs to put up numbers on the statistically worst defense in the NFL. They are allowing 36.8 points a game at the moment and allowing over 450 yards a game. So I mean, I
Yikes.
really like the over on the
Wow.
point there.
I still don't think I can touch the over, man. I just don't see him scoring over 10 points.
The Broncos,
Yeah,
like even
yeah.
if the Chiefs score average, let's just say it's 37 points, the Broncos put up their 10 piece. That's only 47 points.
That's the Vegas philosophy, bro.
Yep. The thing is, I just do not see this being a scenario where we don't take our foot off the gas defensively late in the game and give them a gimme field goal or a gimme touchdown in the final 2 minutes, and then they end up,
Yeah,
hitting the over or covering or whatever it is.
sure, sure.
Now, a couple props that I really like this week. I like the anytime touchdown for Travis Kelce at -165 and Pacheco at +100. Those odds are coming from DraftKings. Jerick McKinnon on the reception yards over 12.5 yards is where I'm looking at. Kadarius Toney at 31.5. I'm taking the under there. And then for Justin Watson at 19.5 receiving yards, I like the over. I like a deep bomb to Justin Watson in that game. And then Isaiah Pacheco, 70.5 rushing yards. I'm taking the over. The Denver Broncos defense has just been getting gashed. They're going to be missing 2 defensive linemen in this game. Pacheco's going to eat 70.5. Take the
Yeah,
over.
it's gonna be a run heavy set for the game as well. You know, when we go up 21, 24 points, it's gonna be a run heavy set, more of a throw on only third down, maybe throw second down if it's deep. But the McKinnon 12.5 on receiving yards, I'm taking the over on that. I think Watson starts to get more touches as the season goes on, especially after the hype he got last week after that 3rd and 18. Watson's going to get some touches, so I love the 19.5. I'm taking the over. I'm not touching Travis Kelce for a touchdown here with the injury kind of floating out there. You don't really know. He can honestly play one quarter or one drive and be like, man, this thing doesn't feel well. Like, okay, it's the Broncos. Go ahead and head out. You know, I don't like that one at all. But Pacheco plus 100, I love that, man. Like we just talked about, it's going to be a run heavy game, and he's going to eat. He's going to get his carries. You know, ideally he's sitting around 18, 20 carries would be awesome. But you know, if we can bump that up to 23 carries, I mean, that's a no-brainer for me, man.
Yep, absolutely. We're on the same page for the most part. So I feel pretty good about it. Um, Obviously, let's address the elephant in the room, right? With the Chiefs and Broncos. The Chiefs are going for their 16th straight victory over the Denver Broncos. We've won 15 straight. The last time the Broncos beat us, Peyton Manning was under center. Von Miller was in the prime of his life, and it was September 15, 2015. So we're talking about over 8 calendar years ago was the last time the Denver Broncos beat a Kansas City Chiefs team. I want to talk about a few things that were going on in the world the last time the Denver Broncos beat us, just to really put this into perspective for anybody listening. So Trey and I, we were juniors in college at that time. And I'm not talking getting ready to be seniors. This was like first week on the job kind of deal here. Fresh off a sophomore season. Mahomes was a sophomore
uh,
at Texas Tech, not even close to getting out of the league. The Uptown Funk by Bruno Mars was the #1 song that year. Barack Obama was still in his second term. We weren't even close to Donald Trump, let alone Joe Biden. Steph Curry had just cut
uh,
down the nets for his first title with the Golden State Warriors, and the only players still left from that team are Travis Kelce and our long snapper, James Winchester. A lot has changed since the last time the Broncos beat us, and who knows, we might push this streak even further. We are going to.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, a couple points here. One, Winchester, Mr. Consistent. Man, that guy, if he
What
doesn't
a
get
cut.
inducted into the ring of what the hell is it called?
Ring of Honor.
The Ring of Honor. The Ring of Honor in
Yeah.
Kansas City, bro, I'll be pissed. Second thing, Dan, junior year of college, give us a quick story.
Oh, junior year of college?
Yeah.
Sheesh.
What kind of
Man,
mischief were you up to?
you're making me pull something out of the I'm gonna have to dust off a couple files to get something out there. Oh, goodness gracious. I was living in a duplex with my good friends, Lane Chamberlain. We were living with Lane Chamberlain, Taylor Pego, and Denton Darty. We were in the Pi Kappa Alpha fraternity. Goodness gracious. I mean, that particular year, that was the year I turned 21. So a lot of blurriness going out. I'll just tell you about that first football season there. Every Thursday night, we would walk from our duplex. It was a 2-minute walk to the nearest sports bar, which was called Bears. It was spelled Bairs. I went to Missouri State where we were the Bears. And so we would go over to Bears every Thursday night. They would do a pitcher special. So we'd get Blue Moon pitchers for $3 a pitcher. And we would watch Thursday night football games and take advantage of the $5 burger specials at Bears. So that was tradition for us every Thursday night. It was me, all of my roommates, and then a bunch of my other fraternity brothers. We'd all walk, they'd go come over to our house. We'd all walk over there, have some beers, have some burgers, and then eventually go downtown to Thursday night was a Finnegan's Wake night. So that's where we would go after Bears. So that's my
That's
that's
awesome.
my junior in college story, I guess.
There you go. There you go. All right. Thanks for that. I wanted everybody to have a little background on who the real Dan Portillo was.
You made me dig, man. I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah. This whole time you're telling a story, I was like, damn, I don't even know what the hell I was doing in my junior year of college. I was trying to think where I was living, but I was
I
at
had
the
to peel the
fiveplex.
layers back. I was like, okay, I'm living with these guys. I'm doing that. It's like,
Yeah,
man,
yeah,
that was
yeah,
a
yeah,
journey.
100%.
Yep.
Yo, Dan,
Every
let's talk wins and losses here, man. So, how do the Broncos win? If they can win, how do they do it? And then let's jump into keys to victory for the Chiefs here.
Yeah, man. Broncos winning. We kind of did the same thing with the Jets, but I think there's going to need to be some divine intervention, some divisional game magic for these guys to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Russell Wilson, to tell you the truth, has not been the problem for the Denver Broncos, in my opinion. He's been statistically better than Patrick Mahomes in some categories. Less interceptions, similar yards, bet more touchdowns, one more touchdown, I think. A lot of the problem has been this defense. They're 32nd in the league in points per game. They're 32nd in the league in yards per game. This is a roster that everybody thought was pristine when Russell Wilson came in, and the defense was good last year and everything like that. But there's been some true regression, and I think a lot of that comes from the talent that has left them over the last couple of years. They saw Von Miller leave. They traded away Bradley Chubb. We've seen Draymond Jones leave for another opportunity. There's been a lot of talent just kind of walking out the door there in Denver. So the defense is going to need to flip from worst to first. If they're going to take us down, they're going to need to get in Patrick Mahomes' face. They're going to need to force some incompletions. Patrick Surtain's probably going to need to force a key turnover. Same with Justin Simmons. We know he's a quality safety as well for them. It's going to start with the defense at the end of the day. They're going to need to do something spectacular against this offense, and they're going to need to have a horseshoe up their ass to get it done.
Understood. Yeah, I'm going to jump straight to the keys to victory for the Chiefs because I don't see a chance in hell that the Broncos find a way to win this. So, keys to victory for the Chiefs. Number one is going to be protecting the football, staying on the field, keeping the offense on the field. Again, we already mentioned it before. Ground and pound, run the damn ball the whole game. I want to see, this is a chance for the Chiefs to really develop and kind of tune some things up, but also try some new things out that we were afraid to do against other teams this season. As you spoke about, worst defense in the league. So what not greater opportunity than right now to try the things that we were afraid to do the first 5 weeks. So let's get out there. Some things that could that need tuned up, between Pat Mahomes and the wide receiver core, but also some things that we can throw in there, some extra wrinkles. On top of that, it's going to be continued improvement from a wide receiver core. Like I said, that's got to be a focus for that group: Patrick Mahomes, Matt Nagy, and Andy Reid. Everybody's got to be on the same page, thinking, how do we figure this thing out? How do we develop these guys? Where do these guys' talents best fit into the offense? How can we best utilize Rashee Rice? How can we get this guy more involved so he's doing more than what he's doing now? So I think that's important for us there. And then on top of that, you kind of spoke about the divisional. It's a divisional game, right? So weird things happen.
Right.
You still have to go into the game. It's still an NFL team. These guys are still professionals. You still have to go in and expect and deliver greatness. You cannot take a step back and think this is just a Pop Warner game and think you're going to roll the Broncos, even though that may be true. You got to go out and you have to play a solid football game. And it's from the first whistle. We've seen the Chiefs come out and underestimate opponents and come out and be down 2 touchdowns in the first quarter because we weren't ready to play that team because we were looking towards next week, or we were thinking about Buffalo, or we're thinking about Cincinnati, or whatever it may be, right? So those are the keys to victory for me. I think it's the cameras are on the offense. What can we do? How can we figure this out? How can we continue to develop? The defense has been consistent, which is a big damn deal. And so for the defense, we look to just another week of being consistent.
Yep. Absolutely. I love that. I love that that point you brought up about just like getting creative with these guys in the wide receiver room and just seeing what we can do, because there is going to be a little bit of a buffer, a little flexibility there. That's going to be pretty awesome to see, to tell you the truth. And then, just making sure that we stick to fundamental ball, right? Protect it, protect the ball. Don't get killed by penalties. We've been one of the most penalized teams this year, despite what all the, Chiefs haters have to say about the officials. That's been the fact. So as long as we stick to that, man, everything you laid out, I think we're golden, baby. Golden.
Yep.
So before we wrap the show, did want to talk about something that you and I are doing this week. Pretty great cause going on. So Trey and I are going to run the Jared Coons Memorial Pumpkin Run 5K this weekend in Olathe. It'll be Saturday early morning. There's still time to register if you guys are wanting to go out and support a great cause. My boss at my full-time job, it's his cousin who passed away tragically after a long battle with leukemia. His parents decided to create this event to raise money that goes towards about 7 different cancer-related charities. Unfortunately, his mother passed away as well to breast cancer in 2006. So this race is to memorialize both Jared and Jane Coons, as well as raise money to give others an opportunity to fight an illness that has impacted so many different people across the globe. So what they've been able to do since they initiated this race is raise nearly $1 million, and they're getting really close to that $1 million mark, which would be a huge milestone for a local charity here in Kansas City. So Trey and I will be out there Saturday morning running the 5K, doing that deal. If you're wanting to register, check out their website, www.pumpkinrunwalk.org. If you can't go out there and race, it's really no big deal, but you want to support, you can always donate funds to the cause. They're taking in all those donations, of course, and distributing those to charities like Ronald McDonald House, just all kinds of different organizations that are going to help support the research to eventually cure this illness that has, again, been so impactful. So the Jared Coons Memorial Pumpkin Run, I'm excited to get out there. Honestly, this will be the first 5K I've actually run. I run a lot of 5Ks in my neighborhood, but never been able to dedicate the time to support an organization. And I'm actually really excited to get out there and do this.
Yes, again, not to harp on what you've already talked about, but a great cause. I'm looking forward to it as well. Always fun to get out and compete. And I'm not sure. You and I talked a couple weeks ago about Tate, my son. He likes to be in a stroller, and we have a running stroller. So I'm thinking about running with Tate. Haven't ran over a mile with Tate before in the stroller, so it's going to be a true test. But and I've probably honestly only ran like 4 or 5 times since we ran the 100-miler back in August. Shout out to the Rough Runners. But so I'll probably be towards the back of the pack, but that's all right. I'm still going to get out there and get after it. But yeah, looking forward to it. yeah, just another chance to bond with friends, family, and meet some new friends.
Absolutely. It's going to be beautiful. So, feel free to go out there, donate, run, walk, whatever the case might be. There's going to be some family components to that as well. Some different events going on as part of the race. So, going to be a lot of fun. Going to be a lot of fun. Definitely wanted to shout them out here before we wrapped up. But man, that's been the fastest 40 for this week. We're going to get into Thursday night football, get a dub, and then the weekend is ahead of us. No Red Friday episode this week, obviously, but we will be back early next week to talk about everything going on with the Kansas City Chiefs and this game against Denver in the AFC. So we'll see you then. Peace.
Let's go Chiefs!